This has got to be one of the most beautiful and yet heartbreaking songs ever written for a Disney film. Actually, I say that, but Disney's pretty good about disturbing levels of heartbreak. Check out this absolute beauty of a composition by none other than Randy Newman. Just look at the way this opens up. We have this G major chord right off the bat. Something like that, right? And then we immediately drop down a little quieter into E flat. And then even quieter into C. So we're essentially just building major chords. G, E flat, C. Now that sounds very triumphant. It sounds almost like a fanfare, which is fitting for the moment because after all, this is when Buzz decides to truly put his abilities to the test. He's going to try to fly, and when we're kids, we're like, yes, 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 he's gonna show everybody like what we've known all along. Buzz really is a space ranger, and those wings definitely work. Oh boy, Disney, how did you mess with us like this? The harmony of those three chords right in the opening is actually gonna come back and be very important moving forward.
Out among the stars I sail, way beyond the moon. In my silver ship I sail, a dream that ended too soon.
We're sitting on G major. We have this pedal tone. The bass never leaves. That's what a pedal tone is. And we have our melody. And the chords, so we have G major over D, then try D major over G. And when we play D major over G, what you're doing is you're creating this beautiful rub of, we have a second here, the add 9, right? The second and the ninth are the same. And we also have the fifth of G major, and now we have the major seventh of G major. So that's what that D major triad adds over our G pedal tone. And that's just such a gorgeous sound right there. Coming from this nice, clean, simple triad, now we get this, it feels like a development of it. It feels like we're going somewhere, but we've also added these beautiful color tones to this G major space that we're existing in so far. And our melody simply outlines that D major chord, right? Then we bring in our next chord, which is our 4 chord, our C major chord in the key of G, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, there's our 4 chord. And we're just simply playing that also over our G pedal. So our bass note hasn't moved at all. We're just moving back and forth between all those. G over G, just G, D over G, C over G, back to D over G, and then back again. Here's where we depart from it, and boy does this orchestration get absolutely gorgeous.
Now I know it.
We can hear we've gone to the 4 chord. We've now left our G pedal tone and moved. We get this beautiful melody, and then the orchestration plays that chord fully. Beautiful playing there.
Now I know exactly who I am.
Whoa, we have interesting. Where did our bass note go? We have, let's listen.
Now I know exactly who.
We went to G flat, F sharp, G flat. What we did is we moved a tritone away from C. And you'll see exactly what the movement, what the purpose of that motion is in just a second, because we go, we play an F sharp dominant chord. That is a very dissonant connection between the C and the F sharp, but watch what they do with it.
Now I know exactly who I am and what I'm here for.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna get into that in just a second, but just that resolution. That was the purpose of it. The reason we went from here to there is because it releases us back in to the home base. And then from there we continue, and it gets even more beautiful from there. We have C major, F sharp dominant, back to home bass, G major, our 3-chord flipped dominant. And the reason we specify that it's flipped dominant is because in the naturally occurring diatonic triads within the key of G major, our B chord is actually minor, but we've used our subdominant, our secondary dominant here, and turned it into this, which is it has almost a very sentimental sound, right? Especially in connection with the next chords that we hear. Gorgeous. And it works so well that way because when we look at simply where we're going to in this moment, this E minor chord, we went from B dominant to E minor. Now, for just a moment, I want you to erase G as a home bass from your mind entirely. Forget the fact that we're in G major. And I want you to think about just these 2 chords. And imagine we released here, right? This is where we were setting up and we landed on this E minor. Well, let's call E minor home. How are B dominant and E minor related? Let's just look at the major scale. I know it's minor, but we're just for the sake of clarity, we're going to look at the major scale. Okay, well, we just looked at E major and we found that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B is our 5 chord. And what we know about 5 chords is they're almost always dominant. When they're setting up the home bass, we're going to find a dominant chord in that position. So the fact that we have 2 things happening together that make this B dominant chord so nice to listen to. Not only is it a little bit of an exit from that G major sound to our ears, it's a little bit of like ooh, that's nice because we're not expecting it. We're normally expecting a B minor chord in the key. In the key of G, we usually expect to hear that B minor chord. But here where it's major, so it's a little bit unexpected. So that's the first thing that's really nice to our ears. But then we're using it as its own 5 to set up that nice E minor chord that just, right? And then we're immediately off of it again and onto something else. Check it out.
Exactly who I am and what I'm here for.
Whoa! We went from let's listen to that one more time.
Exactly who I am and what I'm here for.
Wow. We have our resolution to E minor, and now we're gonna go right back to that B chord, but instead of it being dominant, we're putting it back into its home place in the key of G major, which is as a minor chord. Up to the 4, and then chromatic climb up with a diminished chord, and we're prepping this beautiful resolution.
And I will go sail no more.
Absolutely gorgeous harmony. Let's look at that again.
And I will go sail.
Woo! Listen to the strings there,
No
particularly
more.
the middle string.
And I will go sail.
Right there. Wow, listen to that. This right here is it's what we call quartal harmony. Not chord like C-H-O-R-D, but quart like Q-U-A-R-T, meaning 4, right? So we have stacked fourths, quartal harmony, right? So we briefly touch on this really modern sounding voicing in the strings before releasing it into our favorite chord, the minor 4. At least it's more or less a minor 4. You could think about it in a couple of different ways, but it releases itself beautifully into the 1, but an unresolved 1. A 1 chord G major, but it's sitting over the 5. It doesn't quite feel like we've finished it. It's not finished, right? So we have... That is just so beautiful because the melody is our G and we hear this in the strings, but it immediately changes. There's our minor 4 sound. 1 over the 5, not resolved. Let it go to sus and then down to dominant before finally coming to an end at G major. It is just an absolutely classic, sentimental sounding, beautiful chord progression that encapsulates exactly what this point of the story is telling us and what the lyrics are telling us.
Exactly who I am and what I'm here for. And I will go sailing no more.
Ah!
You are a toy you can't fly. And I will go sailing no more.
So here we have this development of the theme. Oh. Now, did you notice what that chord is? E flat major. Let's go back to the beginning. And then, right? So we're already revisiting that place that we went before. And then we're going to move into this triumphant build-up, which we all know where it goes.
No,
A flat.
it can't be true. I could fly if I wanted to.
Very, very simple. We go to A flat, and then we find out that that's being treated basically like a 4 chord, because we go 4, 5, 1. You can hear that resolution there. That's basically all we're doing.
No, it can't be true. I could fly if I wanted to.
Now watch this.
Like a bird in the sky. If I believed I could fly, why I'd fly.
Look at that! Look at that! Notice what we just hit. We resolved to this big, massive climax and then dropped it to C major. Go back once again to the intro. We started here. There's our 3 chords from the intro that we've now utilized in our theme, and we've touched on these harmonic centers at some point throughout the entire buildup of the song. It's amazing writing. Let's listen to that again.
No, it can't be true. I could fly if I wanted to. Like a bird in the sky. If I believed I could fly, why I'd
Oh, wow. Anytime you want to make something like mysterious or unsettling, take something that's very strong and kind of just break it, right? So we've gone now from F major to this F augmented sound, and we're just something along those lines, and you can add all kinds of stuff in there, but it does a great job at being like, wait, that's not what we're actually doing. And real quickly, those chords, the development of those chords, we went from B major to G flat major up to D flat major to A flat major. That's essentially just being like 4-1. Okay, cool. 4-1. And if you look at those notes in sequence, we get something really interesting. B, G flat, D flat, A flat, E flat. Do you see a pattern here? Let's spread it out and just play it in an ascending pattern. B, G flat, D flat, A flat. Huh. Well, that's literally just the circle of fifths. So we get this beautiful series of resolving chords in an ascending pattern by utilizing the circle of fifths. B flat, G flat, D flat, A flat, resolving to E flat. And then we give it this C major chord, which allows us to hang on to that really long held out note that Randy's singing there, this beautiful, it's a third when we're in E flat, but then it's a fifth once we're in the key of C, and then we leave the whole thing in this extra resolution to this new place that we have not yet defined, and that's F major, which brings us to our augmented chord. Unbelievably beautifully written transition. And I want to know what your favorite Disney tracks are, either from this film or other works that Randy Newman has done, or just other Disney films in general. I'd love to take a look at some of this stuff. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is something that I wanted to cover for a very long time because it's just, it's one of my favorite parts of something that was a massive formative memory for me in my childhood, and I'm sure it was for many of you guys as well. So thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.